Is Germany using the Ukraine war as an excuse to rebuild its military? It appears that amidst faltering U.S. support for Ukraine, Germany has indeed emerged as a key player, filling the void with unprecedented aid and signaling a potential shift in its military posture. What does this mean for Germany's role in Europe and its relationship with NATO? We discuss whether the Ukraine war is a turning point for Germany, prompting a reassessment of its defense strategy and a more pronounced role on the global stage. We delve into the historical context of Germany's military engagement, the transformation in its military aid to Ukraine, the internal and external challenges it faces, public and political perspectives, Germany's long-term military strategy, and the future of the German military. So first, let's begin with the historical context. During World War I, Germany was a central power and one of the main combatants, but the war ended in defeat and led to significant territorial and financial losses for the country. In the interwar period, Germany's military was severely restricted by the Treaty of Versailles. However, under Adolf Hitler's dictatorship, Germany rebuilt its military might, leading to its dominant role in World War II as one of the Axis powers. At its peak, Germany's military, the Wehrmacht, was considered one of the most powerful armed forces in the world, with a total strength of over 18 million personnel in 1944. In the wake of the war's devastation, Germany adopted a commitment to peace and demilitarization, which was enshrined in its basic law and reflected in its foreign policy and defense strategies. In 2023, the Bundeswehr, Germany's modern armed forces, has approximately 184,000 active personnel, reflecting a significant reduction from its historical peak during World War II. This commitment was further reinforced by Germany's integration into the European and transatlantic security architecture. Germany's post-war approach to security also emphasized economic ties and diplomacy, particularly with Russia, due to historical, geopolitical, and energy considerations. This approach shaped Germany's cautious stance on military matters, favoring multilateralism and conflict resolution through diplomatic means. However, the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine has posed a significant challenge to this long-standing approach. The aggression has not only threatened European security, but also challenged the principles that have guided Germany's foreign and defense policies for decades. In response, Chancellor Scholz's administration has undertaken a significant shift by increasing military aid to Ukraine, marking a departure from Germany's historical restraint. This shift is driven by the imperative to support Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and to deter further regional aggression. How sustainable is this shift? And what implications does it have for Germany's future defense strategy? Is this a strategic realignment or a temporary response to an extraordinary situation? Let's dive into this further by analyzing Germany's military aid to Ukraine. Germany's support for Ukraine has reached unprecedented levels, with military aid worth around 28 billion euros made available or earmarked for the next few years. In 2023 alone, Germany authorized a record-breaking 11.7 billion euro in defense articles, with over 4.1 billion euro destined for Ukraine, more than doubling the previous year's commitment. This aid is funded through the federal government's Security Capacity Building Initiative, which amounts to around 7.1 billion euro for 2024. Germany's contributions also support the European Peace Facility, from which it has received around 31 million euro in compensation. Since the start of the Russian war of aggression in February 2022, Germany has provided Ukraine with approximately 5.2 billion euro worth of materials from the Federal Armed Forces supplies. This includes advanced military equipment, such as 66 armored personnel carriers, 73 tracked all-terrain vehicles, Bonwagen 206, 30 main battle tanks, Leopard 1A5, the Patriot air defense missile system, Iris-T SLS missiles, and 52 self-propelled anti-aircraft guns, Gepard. Additionally, more than 10,000 Ukrainian soldiers have received military training in Germany, with training costs amounting to about 282 million euro. Is this a strategic move to assert a newfound military dominance, reminiscent of its pre-World War era, under the guise of supporting an ally in need? Next up, we have the internal and external challenges. Germany's efforts to enhance its military aid to Ukraine are met with significant internal challenges. The Bundeswehr, Germany's armed forces, faces limitations due to years of underinvestment. For instance, the defense budget has historically been below NATO's recommended 2% of GDP, leading to outdated equipment and insufficient services. As of 2021, only about 50% of the Bundeswehr's main battle tanks and less than 40% of its combat aircraft were reported to be operational. This situation has been compounded by delays in placing new orders for weapons production, impacting the Bundeswehr's ability to support Ukraine effectively. In 2023, Germany faced additional scrutiny as it authorized a record high in arms exports, with a significant portion destined for Ukraine. This surge in exports raised questions about Germany's adherence to its self-imposed restrictions on arms sales to active war zones. Externally, Germany faces a paradox in its defense capabilities. Despite being the fifth largest arms exporter globally, with arms exports valued at approximately €8 billion in 2020, Germany's military capabilities do not match its industrial output. For instance, while Germany excels in producing tanks and submarines, its own armed forces face shortages in essential equipment like ammunition and spare parts. Is this disparity a deliberate strategy to prioritize exports over domestic defense needs? Could Germany be using the Ukraine crisis as a testbed to gauge how quickly it can ramp up its military force if needed? Are there underlying motives behind Germany's apparent generosity in supporting Ukraine's defense capabilities? Here are some public and political perspectives. German public opinion reflects a reluctance for the country to assume a leading military role globally, with 60% opposing such a stance. This sentiment influences political strategy, as the Chancellor's administration navigates the fine line between increasing military support to Ukraine and addressing domestic concerns. The government's approach involves a careful calibration of military contributions to ensure they are substantial enough to support Ukraine while avoiding provoking significant public backlash. This balancing act is crucial for maintaining public support and preserving cohesion within the European Union and NATO. So what is Germany's long-term military strategy? Germany's strategic shift towards becoming the backbone of European defense marks a significant departure from its post-World War II military posture. This ambitious transformation aims to position Germany as a central pillar of deterrence and collective defense within Europe. However, this strategy faces challenges, particularly in the current economic context marked by inflationary pressures and the transition away from Russian energy. The sustainability of increased defense spending is a key concern, as Germany navigates the balance between addressing domestic economic challenges and fulfilling its commitment to European security. The commitment to modernize its armed forces, evidenced by the €100 billion special fund for military rearmament, highlights Germany's intent to enhance its military capabilities. However, the effectiveness of these investments depends on the broader economic context and the government's ability to maintain public and political support for these initiatives. The outcome of the 2024 U.S. election could also impact Germany's military strategy and its support for Ukraine, as shifts in American foreign policy and defense priorities may affect the dynamics within NATO and the level of U.S. support for Ukraine. As for the future of the German military, their commitment to doubling its military aid to Ukraine for 2024 and the allocation of a €100 billion special fund for military rearmament signal a shift in its defense policy. These investments aim to modernize the Bundeswehr and enhance Germany's role in European defense, leading to the conclusion that Germany could really be leveraging the Ukraine conflict as a catalyst for its military resurgence. The significant increase in military aid, the provision of advanced military equipment, and the strategic shift in defense policy all indicate a departure from Germany's historical restraint. This newfound assertiveness, driven by the imperative to support Ukraine and deter further regional aggression, marks a turning point for Germany. It is compelling the nation to assert a more pronounced role on the global stage, all while navigating the delicate balance of supporting Ukraine without escalating tensions with Russia. As Germany continues to navigate these complex dynamics, its actions will undoubtedly shape the future security landscape of Europe and beyond. Is Germany's increased military engagement a strategic move to reclaim its position as a dominant military power in Europe? Or is it merely a response to the immediate crisis in Ukraine? Only time will tell.